Hi guys, this is Lord Gotham. I just wanted to share with you an article, and the article talks about how the United States of America is not what we think it is. We think of the United States of America as a sovereign country that abides only by its own constitution, when in fact, that is not true. What it is the United States of America is a corporation, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and put this link to this article in the description so that you could go ahead and take a look at it yourself. But it's also based from David Icke's book, The David Icke Guide to the Global Conspiracy. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and read this to you. The United States is a corporation. Yes, you read the title correctly. We are not living in a country with a government of the people, by the people, for the people, but we are part of a giant corporation. The United States Corporation and the President of America is the CEO. We are only the employees. This corporation, in its turn, is owned by another corporation. Guess. The British Crown. Hey, wait a minute. First of all, America is not owned by Great Britain. You may think. That's what the War of Independence was all about, to free ourselves from British tyranny. We are free from Britain, and we have our own constitution. Our founding fathers helped out with that. If this is what you think, it is incorrect, and I will tell you why. We have never been free from Britain. The power only changed from the overt power to covert power. They gave us an illusion of freedom, and they have succeeded well to keep their little secret. Thus, the founding fathers, who most of them were Freemasons, had no intention to give us any freedom. They worked hand in glove with the British Crown all the time. But the only way to establish a new world in America was to fool the people and tell them that they were fighting for freedom. This is the plain truth in a nutshell. But now it's time to back up and explain the above a little deeper. Corporation of the people, by the people, for the people. Okay, so the following is a section of an excerpt from David Icke's book, The David Icke Guide to the Global Conspiracy. The United States government is actually the United States corporation. It was created behind the screen of a federal government when, after the manufactured victory in the American War on Independence, the British colonies exchanged overt dictatorship from London for the far more effective covert dictatorship that has been in place ever since. In effect, the Virginia Company, the corporation headed by the British Crown that controlled the former colonies, simply changed its name to the United States of America and other related pseudonyms, which are the US, USA, United States of America, Washington, D.C., the District of Columbia, and the president of the corporation is known as the President of the United States. This is an accurate title given that one is the names for the corporation is the United States. He or she is not the president of the people or the country as they are led to believe. That's just the smokescreen. This means that at this time, President Bush, he had launched a war on terrorism on behalf of a private corporation to further the goals of that corporation. It had nothing to do with America or Americans because these are very different legal entities. It is the United States Corporation, not the government, which owns the United States military and everything else that comes under the term federal. The privately owned corporation called the United States is a holding company, if you like, and the 50 states are its subsidiaries. You may have noticed that the national flag of the United States has a gold fringe when displayed in court or federal buildings. And you see this also in federally funded schools and on the uniforms of U.S. troops. Under the international law of the flags, a gold fringe indicates the jurisdiction of commercial law, also known as British maritime law. British maritime law. This was covered on the previous video. And in the U.S., it's known as the Uniform Commercial Code, or the UCC. The gold fringe is not part of the American flag, known as the Stars and Stripes, but it is a legal symbol indicating that the court, government building, school, or soldier is operating under this British maritime law. and the Uniform Commercial Code, military and merchant law. Merchant law. Mer. Again, mer means water, the sea. For example, if you appear in a court with a gold-fringed flag, your constitutional rights are suspended, and you are being tried under, that's right, British maritime law. Military/merchant, mer, water, sea, law. If it seems strange that a court or building on dry land could be administered under maritime or admiralty law, look at the U.S. Code Title 18B7. It says that admiralty jurisdiction is applicable in the following locations. Number 1, the high seas. Number 2, any American ship. And 3, any lands reserved or acquired for the use of the United States and under the exclusive or concurrent jurisdiction thereof, or any place purchased or otherwise acquired by the United States by consent of the legislature of the state. In other words, mainland America. All this is founded on Roman law, which goes back to Babylon and Sumerian law, because the Illuminati have been playing this same game throughout the centuries wherever they have gone. The major politicians know that this is how things are, and so do the top government administrators, judges, lawyers, and insider journalists. Americans think that their government and legal system is pegged in some way to the Constitution, but it is not. The United States, like Britain and elsewhere, is ruled by commercial law. Commercial law, to overcome the checks and balances of common law. It's another monumental fraud. The U.S. court system does not operate under American Constitution, but under corporate law. It is the law of contracts. Contracts. And you have to make a contract with the corporation for that law to legally apply to you. The scam has been set up so that when you register with the federal government in any way by accepting a social security number or a driver's license or any of the official federal documents, you are unknowingly contracting to become an asset employee of the United States corporation. Every word or use of lower to uppercase is making a legal statement. Have you noticed that when you receive correspondence relating to government law and anything to do with finance, including taxation, your name is always spelt in all uppercase? But your uppercase name is not you. Let me say that again. But your uppercase name is not you. It is a corporation/trust set up by the government corporation through the Treasury Department of your birth. Every time a child is born, a corporation/trust is created using his or her name in all uppercase. They do this in this way because governments are corporations and they operate under commercial law, the law of contracts. Contracts. The laws passed by governments only apply to corporations and not to living, breathing, flesh and blood sovereign, free men and women, spelt in upper and lower case or all lowercase, as with capital B, lowercase ill for Bill, capital J, lowercase ONES for Jones, or all lowercase Bill Jones. The living, breathing, sovereign man and women is subject to common law, not commercial law, introduced by governments through legislation. Using commercial law makes it much easier to install an elected dictatorship, unlike common law. You are not subject to precedents built up over centuries. You simply have to get a majority to vote for a bill in Parliament of Congress, or have the U.S. President sign a document, and the law is imposed. What you also have to do, clearly not difficult, is to keep from the people the knowledge of their name. In all uppercase is not them. They will then pay you taxes and subject to your jurisdiction and control in all areas of their lives by unknowingly standing surely for the corporation in their full cap name that they don't even know exists. All court documents have the person's name in all uppercase because under the law of contracts, Contracts. Under the law of contracts, the living, breathing being cannot be tried under corporate law. Only a corporate entity can. It is so crazy that Americans pay personal income tax to the government corporation via the Internal Revenue Service, IRS, when the law to introduce personal income tax was never passed. Ask anyone from the US government or IRS to produce the law that says Americans must pay income tax on their wages, and they will not be able to do it. Many have tried, and the law has never been revealed because it doesn't exist. A $50,000 reward was offered by the We the People organization to anyone who could produce the law, and an IRS agent by the name of Sherry Jackson thought it would be easy money. She then found out that there was no law and resigned to become a campaigner against this fantastic hoax. You believe that? Yet, when people don't pay taxes, which they do not legally have to pay, the IRS takes their property, puts them in jail, and ever more often sends in the armed goons in the black masks. It's fascism, nothing less. If anyone thinks that without personal income tax, there would be no education and other public services, it's not true. They are paid for by state and property taxes, business taxes, sales taxes, fuel tax, booze tax, and all the other endless taxation that we pay besides income tax. In fact, personal income tax in the US is roughly the same as the money paid by governments to the banks in interest on loans. Speaking of fasci or fascism, what symbols are placed at the head of the house or the chamber of house, the house chamber in the Capitol building? There are two symbols there. It's a fasci symbol. Why are they there? What do they represent? Look into that. So we, the people, in the beginning, we were sovereign. Even though perhaps we could say, figuratively speaking, we were led to believe that we were sovereign entities. We did do away with the British crown. We declared independence. But then in 1868, we then became and we were manipulated into this maritime admiralty law, where we are dictated by the law of water, by maritime law. This is from the UK. So we're still owned by the UK. So all this money that is paid into the IRS, there's a percentage of it that gets paid to where? It still gets paid to the crown. So in essence, we're still paying taxes to the crown. Are we independent? Are we sovereign? No, we're not, because we're under maritime international law. We're still paying taxes to the crown. We're being dictated by the crown. So this Trump administration, it is working behind the scenes to do away with this so that we could go back to a country based solely on our own constitution. We're going back to a republic that is based on the Constitution. More on that later. Bye.